Good evening and welcome to the Township of Chatham Township Committee meeting for Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. Greg, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 5th, 2018. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the Municipal Building on January 5th, 2018. And notice was filed with the Township Clerk on January 5th, 2018.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Solin?
Here.
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Here.
Mayor Ritter?
Here. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda or any comments on the agenda tonight?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll start off with the reports. Typhoon?
I have no reports other than we had the second Board of Health meeting on March 13th here at the Township Building. That's about it, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Mike?
Just an update on the DPW, if I may, Mayor. This time of year, the DPW would normally be prepping the rec fields for spring sports and starting to work even on getting the Colony Pool campus ready, but instead they've been dealing with Northeastern number 3 and number 4, running up some long hours and hard work on the snow and the trees. But one of the few items that are still down, I mean, certainly a lot of people suffered electricity being out. That's back now, but one of the few power issues that's still down is the compactor down at the recycling center. The electrical connection there went down in the snow. So recycling is still operational, but it's just going back to the old ways of using the roll-off bins until the compactor is back up and running. And meanwhile, the compost area hours have been extended for those people who want to get branches and limbs off their property right away. The compost area is open weekdays from 8 till 2:30, and on Saturday and Sunday from 8 till 4. So, and then that brings us to the question about a curbside pickup, which really ties into a couple of items that we have about the budget later tonight's meeting to pay for it. And but in terms of the scheduling and how to work that out, I'll defer to Tom and to Rich as the reports go on. But that's it, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Kevin?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to say thank you to the people who supported the Penn State Thon in the last couple of meetings. I had forgotten to mention it. Again, it's the largest philanthropic event, all-student-run event. It's incredible what these students achieved. They raised $10 million for pediatric cancer. It goes throughout the year. It's not just, it culminates in a 45-hour dance marathon. But what they do throughout the year for kids to care for them, it's quite inspirational and quite remarkable. Shows a great deal of caring, how kids can care for other kids. And I call them kids, they're young adults, I suppose, in college. But I just wanted to thank everyone in the Chathams. You see them running around with the white cans in the fall asking for donations. So once again, I just want to thank the people of the Chathams for their generosity and for what, again, opening up their wallets to a great cause, as we always do. So thank you to the people of Chatham in making that possible. It was obviously a big event, near and wide, not just here, but in the tri-state area and beyond. But thank you again. And just want to thank you, Mayor, for your leadership in the last couple of storms, providing updates, valuable communications, and I know people appreciated it. Former members of the OEM mentioned directly to me that what a great job and the value of the information that was going out. So thank you for that.
Thanks. Karen?
All right, thank you. Folks, this is our senior center calendar, and this is the month of March. And I always talk about how great it is that there is such an abundance of activities at our senior center. There's about 6 activities every day here at the Chatham Senior Center. It's a most remarkable organization. It doesn't just serve the Chathams either. If you have senior friends who are in surrounding communities who want to come by for pinochle on Tuesdays, please definitely encourage them to do it. June 1st and June 2nd will be our Glorious Garden Tour, one of the great highlights of our senior center year, kicking off with the cocktail party on June 1st, Friday night, and also the Glorious Garden Tour on Saturday the 2nd. You can actually visit and register on the website, so I encourage you all to do that. Go to Chatham Seniors and look further into the Glorious Garden Tour. We're looking for sponsors if you're interested in doing that as well. Regarding our Environmental Commission, they were postponed because of the storm in the month of March. They'll be catching up at the end of this week. We have a Facebook page for the Chatham Township Environmental Commission, which has a lot of interesting tips for people who are concerned about the environment. And Kara Fieser, one of our great Environmental Commission members, is planning a seedling sale. More about that coming forth in the spring. And just to follow up as the utility liaison during the most recent storms, we were able to coordinate with New Jersey American Water to replace the entire length of the water main under Lenape Trail in a remarkably expeditious fashion, in spite of the fact that we had some pretty dicey weather. They came in, they closed the road, they tore up the street, put in a new water main, and they'll be ready to connect that in the week ahead. I'm amazed at how well it all worked. I know there were a couple of bumps in the road for some of the residents, but none of these things come without just a problem or two. And I would like to say, regarding the relationship that we have with JCP&L, over the last several days, with the number of challenging weather events that we've all faced, I know people are outraged because their power was out. There were 500,000 people in northern New Jersey without electricity. And when I heard from our liaison very early in the second storm, how many, can you give me some numbers? Can you tell me the neighborhoods that are suffering the worst? He said, Karen, everybody is out. And when we talk about everybody is out, that meant about 4,000 households were without power. When I drove by the Livingston Mall shortly after the weather stopped, the number of sleeping trailers, the number of resting trailers, shower trailers, the food tents, it is a monstrous task for JCP&L to come into a community, into a district or a region, and bring men and women, talent from all their different locales, whether they are Kentucky or Ohio or across the board in Canada. And I know that when the lights go out in your house, it's the worst. We had no power for 4 or 5 days at my house. It's uncomfortable. We were all in it together. Our relationship with JCP&L was one of constant communication. They were able to get to spots that really needed it, whether it was live wires, whether it was working with residents to ensure their connections were back up. And we all want to shake our fists at something. At the end of the day, Mother Nature has the last word, I think, and I think they did very well to help us out, to guide 500,000 power outages literally through the storm. So can anybody improve? They can improve. We can improve. We can improve our communication. I have my hat off to Mayor Ritter as well for being out there in whatever fashion, whether it was over text messages, emails, alert, Chatham Township. It was awesome, and I think it helped make people realize they weren't alone. We were all trying to cope in our own ways, but it was a challenge that was faced by all of us. So for those of you who exhibited superhuman patience, really, when you're part of the solution, rest assured that you're not part of the problem. So it took a lot of us to get through it together, and we did. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Karen. I just want to echo those comments and also want to thank our DPW for their efforts, the police department, our first responders. They responded over the past 2 storms to over 19 emergency calls. Truly amazing for what they've done. Commend Kevin Sullivan, our OEM director, and Tom Miller, Lieutenant Miller, who's our deputy OEM director, for their efforts as well. And Karen, again, if people recall, 4 or 5 years ago, when our liaison, we didn't really have much of a relationship with our utilities. And since Karen's been on board, she's really kind of up the bar, so to speak, raised the bar in terms of making sure that we're in constant contact with our utilities in good times and in bad. So she's developed a great relationship, so I thank you for that as well. And just in terms of communications, again, I will reiterate, as I had been doing on on Facebook and the community forums and such, just encouraging people to register for the Act Now community alerts, and also to like and follow our Facebook and Twitter social media channels. The best way to get up-to-date information in terms of what's going on in the township itself, and also just to visit the website itself. So, thank you very much.
Do you want to say a word about the vaping program that we're having?
Oh, very good. Yes, next Tuesday we're having a vaping program. I mentioned this last time. It's on the website itself. It's going to take place 7 o'clock Tuesday, the 27th, I want to say, if that's correct, here in the municipal building in this room itself. Look for more information on our website. I know the local papers and media outlets have publicized it, but I encourage everyone to attend. Thanks. John?
Just some updates on the Safe Routes to School grant. The project for extending sidewalks on Shunpike, we did have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday, but it was canceled because of the snow, so we're waiting for that to be rescheduled. So hopefully they can reschedule that soon. So it's just the first step in a long process of trying to get that consultant on board to do that work. On Lafayette, as you know, we were provided an unsigned agreement from the DOT. We signed it, we forwarded it back to them. I have requested to get a response back, just a verbal, we can proceed, even though I don't have a signed agreement with them. I did not get a response yet. I'm going to call them, feel more comfortable getting an acknowledgement for them that we can move forward, but that's where we are. So I'm just going to keep pressure on them to get either a verbal or agreement, to get that agreement in place before we issue the notice to proceed to go forward with that project. So hopefully that's not a delay. And lastly, regarding our lock grading ordinance, our lock grading ordinance references the design of dry wells to comply with New Jersey's Best Management Practice Manual. That manual was just changed, and the reference to dry wells, they changed it in such a way that it's no longer applicable to really a small projects like a residential home. It's been revamped where it's more written for if you're a major project, disturbance of more than an acre, where you have to comply with NJAC 7:8, the extensive stormwater requirements. And so I would like to the committee to entertain a change in that, no longer referencing the BMP manual, and I'll just put some conditions in that we have in the past, which are good conditions. The conditions are such that they require a mounding analysis and yearly certifications, and it's just something that's a little over the top for, either for a single addition or even a rebuild. It's just they're over the top, and so I think it's a change that we should entertain. We should look at, just to not to put that burden on the residents or people. So if it's okay from the committee, I'll just draft an ordinance for a discussion item at the next meeting, just so you can consider.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I have.
Chief?
I just have one thing. On March 12th, the Morris County Sheriff's Department Hope One van visited the Hickory Square Shopping Center in Chatham, and I just wanted to share this report here. Let me just touch base on what it is first, so you know what it is I'm talking about. It's pretty long off their website. The Mobile Recovery Access Vehicle offers critical support for persons struggling with addiction, with the goals of preventing drug overdoses and deaths. The Sheriff's Community Services Unit operates Hope One in partnership with the Morris County Department of Human Services, the Mental Health Association of Morris County, and Morris County Prevention is Key and their Center for Addiction, Recovery, Education, and Success. Hope One travels twice a week to locations throughout Morris County, bringing services to persons in need. The sheriff's officer, licensed clinician, and a certified peer recovery specialist who understands the needs of those suffering with addiction staff the vehicle. They are able to provide clients immediate access to services and treatment facilities, pulling them on the road to recovery and wellness. In reviewing the report from their visit, I can tell you that since January 18th, there were 33 people who visited the van. It was parked right out in front of ShopRite, and that's by far the highest number to date this year of the number of visitors. And I'll just quickly share the report that I got in regards to that. Please see the results from today on Hope One at Chatham ShopRite. We Narcan trained 11 people, including a woman in recovery, a concerned mother of a teenager, a woman that saved 2 people from overdoses with rescue breathing, and a ShopRite employee. We also trained a woman whose brother is struggling with addiction, a woman whose nephew overdosed, and a woman that had a congregant overdose in the church bathroom. A mother spoke to our mental health professionals about her son that needs services. Another mother opened up to the Hope One team about her daughter's struggle with mental illness. Several people stopped to talk to us, including 2 moms that lost their children to overdoses, one lady that lost her brother to alcoholism, and 3 people with family members in recovery that thanked us for our services. A woman read a couple articles about Hope One and said it is great. A customer exited the store and asked if she could donate her turkey to a shelter, for which Hope One took it to the food pantry. Hope One and the Sheriff's Department just wanted to thank the Police Department for our involvement, and they go out. The Sheriff's Department has a website. They have the Hope One information on the website. It's a great opportunity. It was a great initiative that was started by Sheriff Gannon, and I can just make a suggestion or a recommendation that if anyone is in need of help of either addiction recovery or mental health services, the police department is always available, and you can stop by 24/7, and we will get you the help that you need.
Thank you, Chief. As it relates to the Hope van, how often does it come out, or how does that determined?
It goes out twice a week. It has visited the Wharton ShopRite, the Kinnelon Stop and Shop.
Like when is
it's spent
Chatham
a few
Township
times
on-
in Dover.
When is it on the next rotation here in Chatham Township? Is it like whenever?
I can't tell you when it is. I don't think it goes out that far.
But they'll be back.
But it is on the website, and I'm sure they'll be back, especially with the numbers that they saw from their visit here. It's a great initiative. It was a great location. I'm sure a lot of these people stopped by out of curiosity, but hopefully somebody or everyone that did stop by got the information that they needed.
Well, certainly, if anybody felt as though they missed the opportunity to visit with the Hope One folks, that they could go to the website and find out where in Morris County they'll be appearing if they're out there twice a week,
Yeah.
52 weeks a year or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, they don't necessarily need the Hope One van to get help.
Yeah, but the other thing is, we talk about stigma an awful lot, and the stigma of addiction, the stigma of a family member with addiction.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes it's a little easier perhaps to go to a different town where somebody's not going to see you in the ShopRite parking lot. And maybe just in order to seek a little help or a little advice for oneself or a family member to find out where they are and get help, because it's out there.
Well, I will post it on the Township website. I'll post a link. I'll put it on the Facebook page. And if you'll be nice enough to share it on the Township's
Indeed.
Facebook page as well as the website, and, get the word out where there's hope, there's help.
There you go.
Right? All right, thank you.
Trademark that.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, thank you.
Rich, anything on your end? Tom?
Mayor, I'll start by thanking everyone for the efforts that they put in, Public Works in particular, for the storms that we've experienced. Certainly hope, Karen, that by the time that the glorious garden tour comes up, that the snow is gone. So hopefully by June 2nd, that'll be a reality. But who knows? Mayor, I'll cover most of what I would report on in the budget presentation that's coming up in a few minutes, but I guess as a preliminary to that, Mr. Kelly brought up the town cleanup, and we've had some internal discussions and trying to figure out the best timing for that. And obviously, with the amount of snow that's still out there and the snow that was added yesterday, the assumption is that there's still a lot of storm debris that is sitting in people's yards that they have not yet been able to move out to have it picked up, or have not had their own contractors collect. So as time goes on and the snows begin to melt away, we would then, I think, gear up to doing some sort of a hopefully systematic cleanup, where we don't have it all come out at one time. We can give some guidance to neighborhoods as to when we're coming to get the stuff out and do one pass through. We're also preparing, because this storm, the sequence kind of happened early in the year. If you'll recall, with both the Halloween storm and Sandy, Those were both at the end of October, near the end of the budget year, and we had to deal with those through an emergency appropriation. In this case, we haven't adopted the budget yet, so we can't say that they were unanticipated, but the budget hasn't been adopted yet. So I've prepared for your consideration, and we'll cover it in the budget presentation, an amendment to this budget before it's finalized that would add $150,000 for the cleanup. That's both for additional overtime already incurred by DPW and about to be incurred, and also to be able to hire outside help to collect the materials. John has prepared a spec for us to go out to bid for that project because it will exceed the bid threshold of the 17.5, and since we're not under an emergency, I think it's suitable to play it out according to the correct purchasing and public contracts law. So we are out to bid. Do you have a date for return on that yet? Okay. All right, so we would anticipate then awarding a contract or more than one, a couple, on April 12th, and then I think we could then, begin a real blitz of the town to pick up the debris. So to give people that kind of a heads up, they've got a few weeks to let the snows drift away or melt away and to begin to get their debris out. The guidance that we will give is the same that we did after the previous two storms. We're not in a position to have DPW crews out cutting stuff. They're not going to be traveling with chainsaws. So material, when it does get put out, should be limited to no more than 8 inches in diameter and no more than about 6 to 8 feet in length. Anything larger than that, trees, tree stumps, tree roots, root balls, all that kind of larger tree debris is going to have to be dealt with privately. So people, if you have those kinds of materials, you can begin to deal with that through private contracts. So that's about all that I think I have to say. Any questions, any comments, suggestions on an approach are welcome.
Great. Thank you. At this time, I'll open up for hearing of citizens. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearing tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Amy Mason, and I live at 48 Hilltop Terrace. I want to talk about something from the last meeting, specifically to give a thank you to Mr. Kelly for his letter that he presented at the last meeting. I watched the video, and I just have a few comments that I'd like to make. So in April of 1999, I was home on maternity leave with my newborn baby, watching Columbine happen live, as it was happening. It's very emotional. It still is emotional for me. That was 19 years ago. I have a 19-year-old, and she's now officially part of the school shooting generation, which it's such a shame. We can do better. I read today that since then, 19 years ago, there have been 216 school shootings. I don't know if that's a true statistic. I don't know. It was a reputable source, but I don't know how they came up with it. And I think that's one of my points. We don't have the information that we need to fight this fight that we are fighting now. So I was disappointed that I couldn't see you present your letter, but I wanted to come and say thank you. And I would be honored to sign that letter if you haven't sent it already. And I'm sure that there would be a lot of other people in town who would like to do the same. So thank you.
Thank you. Sure, come on up.
My name is Mike Kochek. I live at 4 Ridge Road, Chatham Township, and I didn't quite understand what the gist of the pickup was all about. Is this in the works at this point, or is it going to happen, or Is it a matter of money? What have you?
No, it is in the works, it is going to happen, but before it can happen, the Township Committee needs to approve the funds. The budget that was prepared for 2018 did not anticipate that kind of an event, so we are, I'm recommending and I'm assuming the Township Committee is going to approve an amendment tonight that will allow us to award a contract April 12th for outside contractors to assist us with a general townwide pickup.
Is there a contingency in the budget at this point to cover any such unexpected item that may
No.
come up? There is
No,
not.
there is not.
So it's bare bones right down to the final yes or no,
Yes.
unless something else is added in.
Correct.
So then you're saying that it will happen? It's just a matter of,
Well, stick around. If the budget amendment gets approved, then yes, it'll happen.
okay. I think it's worse than Sandy.
You know, it's just hard to evaluate. We just don't know. I'm hearing that, some people are saying it's a quarter of what Sandy was, but certainly for some homeowners, it's probably worse.
Yeah, not in my house. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer McNally, 19 Ferndale Road here in the Township. And I too, like Amy Mason just stood up, I'd like to thank Mike Kelly for coming forward at the last meeting and putting together that language in that letter for everyone to take a look at and read through. I have to say, while I admire him for that, I'm also very disappointed that we cannot be better role models for our children here at Chatham High School, who organized themselves, 400 of them last week, to have their walkout to support all these other students across the country in high school. The fact that our leaders here couldn't come to a decision amongst themselves to show support for our own kids and to show how we can work together as adults and come together for language that everybody could agree upon and be amicable about to support our kids. Our kids got together, 400 kids, self-organized, and I think it would be an important message. Our friends in the borough have already done that, in Madison. All the surrounding towns in New Jersey have come up with this sort of language and letters to support our high school students. So I'd like to see us act as adults to be role models to our kids and work together and maybe come up with something that everybody can agree on. I too have a friend who was a victim of a carjacking, who was shot in the head and left to die in the street. This is 19 years ago, 20 years ago. Nothing has changed. My friend was left for dead. Her friend crawled 1.5 miles to safety to get help. So the fact that this country can't come together to help support these high school students who are so brave to do that is incredibly disappointing. But I do support Mike Kelly, and I appreciate you coming out there with that language, and I'd be honored to sign your letter as well. And I would just hope for the good of our community to come together on this and support our high school students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tessa Mason. I live at 48 Hilltop Terrace in Chatham Township. I am a sophomore at Chatham High School, and I just wanted to invite all of you to the March for Our Lives in Morristown on Saturday. It starts at 11 around Town Hall, so please come. Check out our Facebook page if you have any more questions.
Great, thank you very much, appreciate it. Anyone else? All right, we'll close out the hearing of citizens. We'll now move on to the public hearing and final adoption of the 2018 municipal budget, Resolution 2018-69, amending the 2018 municipal budget. We'll have a presentation, another presentation from Tom.
This presentation is largely the same as it was at the time of introduction. I have made a couple of changes, as I mentioned in my preliminary remarks. We have prepared an amendment to this budget that was introduced that would add an additional $150,000 for storm-related expenses. And as we go along, you'll see there are a couple of other things as well. The annual debt statement, nothing has changed with this slide since the introduction, and for anybody that's interested in seeing this whole presentation and going through it on their own, it is on our website. So there's a couple of things there. The actual budget document is there, and this PowerPoint presentation is there as well. So what you see is this is the first document that's prepared at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of the calendar year, is the annual debt statement. And you see there it lists both the county and school debt in addition to the municipal debt. The county and school debt both get deducted. So the net debt to the township is $14.4 just about $14.5 million. The next slide, related to the annual debt statement, is the last 3 years of the equalized property values. This is the tax ratables, and you see it going from 3.4 to 3,464 to 3,524. The 3-year average of 3,461,000, and again, for some reason, the bottom of the slide gets cut off, but if you look at it online, you can see the whole slide. The net debt expressed as a percentage of the equalized value is 0.418%, so that's 0.4%. The permissible amount is 3.5%, so you can see that we are well below our permitted borrowing capacity. This slide, the results of operations, is drawn from the annual financial statement, another document that is on our website and is required to be filed with the state. And with the results of operations shows you basically how we stood at the end of the year and where we are with fund balance, which we'll get to on the next sheet. But in general, it shows you an excess or deficit of revenues, delinquent taxes, current taxes, miscellaneous revenues not anticipated. We refer to that as MRNA, lapsing of reserves from the prior year. And this next slide is a summary of the anticipated revenues. And what you see is the amount that was anticipated in the 2017 budget, and then the right-hand column is what was actually collected. This is the fund balance over the course of the last 10 years, going back from 2008 through 2017. And you see that the balance at the end of 2017 was substantially less than it was in 16, and is back to about the 2013 levels. I had explained at the previous meeting, I'll go through it briefly again, but what we ran into was a problem in the collections of the current year taxes in 2017. So we fell short of our historical collection rate, and as a result, there's less surplus available, which has a double negative of increasing the reserve for uncollected taxes in the budget as well. So the problems that we had there have been addressed. We don't anticipate that happening again this year. And at the end of 2018, we expect to be back up to the levels that we've become accustomed to. I think we can go through this one pretty quickly. I think at this point everybody knows we're facing, there are state-imposed caps on spending as well as appropriations. The spending caps have been in place at this point now for about 40 years, I guess. I think 1976, if memory serves me correctly, was the first spending cap. There's a slide that goes through the appropriation cap calculation. You see that total appropriations in 2017 were $14.9 million, just under $15 million. There were exceptions to the cap that are deducted, including appropriations for LoSAP, the library, grants, capital improvement funds, debt service, and reserve for uncollected taxes. So the amount on which the 2.5% cap is applied is $11,128,000, and the 2.5% cap will be $278,000. There's cap bank available from prior years, and you will see as we go along that we fall within the statutory guidelines for the spending cap. This next slide is a budget overview, and you'll see here the amendment that is being proposed later is incorporated into these numbers. So the difference between 2017 and 18, and the difference, if you go back and look at the presentation from last month, you'll see a large increase in the public and private programs, where it now is at $471,898. That has an offsetting appropriation, so it has no impact on the tax rate. And what that is actually the second of the Safe Routes to School grants for Shunpike Road sidewalk, as well as the grant award for the engineering design work for the Lafayette Avenue School grant. So I anticipate that as the Shunpike grant moves along, we will probably see another award for engineering on that one. Right, John? They're going to do the design on that one as well? So we'll do that as an amendment as time goes on. But we had received that award some time ago, and we had not yet appropriated it in the budget. So it is now in here so that we can go ahead and begin to spend those funds. Next slide is the levy cap bank calculation. And again, we have been substantially under the levy cap every year that it's been in existence. Over a course of 3 years, the levy cap bank that is created expires. This year, we are actually utilizing some of the 2015 levy cap bank. You see there was $654,000 available from 2015, and we are utilizing $185,000 of that in the levy. The next slide shows a picture of state aid at the time that we introduced the budget, but as expected, the governor's budget includes the same amount, the $836,467 to the penny, same that has been since 2011. Next, school taxes. These are the increases. This is the school taxes through 2017. Obviously, we don't know yet what the succeeding year or current year is going to be. The school is just beginning to go public with their budget presentations. County tax, same thing. A picture of the county taxes for the last 10 years, 2007 through 2017. And we get to the municipal tax rate. The rate for 2018, now this includes the open space taxes rolled in for purposes of this slide. So the 0.277, 27.7 cents per $100 of assessed value includes 1 cent for the open space tax, and then the municipal rate of 26.5 basically, or 26.2. I'm sorry, 25. Do it again. 27. Do the math here. Bottom line is we're looking at a 1.5 cent increase on the local purpose tax rate. This pie chart shows how local taxes are used. Public safety makes up 22% of the budget. Insurance is 15, public works 21, general government 11, reserve fund collected taxes is 10. Debt service at 7. Those are the main categories, and 7% to the library. The total distribution to the various agencies, the school gets 68% of the budget, of the taxes, or 68 cents out of every dollar. So every check that people write to the Township of Chatham, 68 cents goes to the school, 17 cents goes to the county, and the township now is at 15%. So the township and the county had been pretty even for a number of years. The county is now beginning to pull away from us on that as well. So we get the least amount of the local tax dollars.
Was this chart intentional to show that the school budget is gobbling up?
It does look like Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man, but that was not intentional. Yeah, if I can rotate it more, it would be even more accurate, right? We're required to include a statement of disclosure of structural imbalances. This we've been through this before. We really don't have anything of any significance to report. We do have one revenue at risk per the state that we are utilizing $100,000 of capital surplus, and we have pretty much depleted that capital surplus. So. This will be the last year that we do that. In summary, this budget requires a 1.5 cent increase in the local purpose tax rate. As I stated earlier, it's due to a drop in the collections for 2017, which reduced the amount of surplus available and also increased the reserve for uncollected taxes. And we are adding $150,000 now for storm expenses. Surplus, although down, remains at a very strong position and does fit within the surplus policy that was adopted a few years back. The municipal open space tax is set at 1 cent per $100 after several years of being at a half of a cent. And the contribution to the library is increased to $1,086,073. That's the statutory mandated contribution to them. Modest increase in sewer fees was adopted last year. That's in effect for the 2018 budget. Capital improvements, we went over this at the last meeting. We're going to continue with road improvements, purchase of fire safety equipment for the fire departments, and some improvements to this building, and purchase of DPW equipment and minor improvements at Colony Pool. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Tom. Anyone on the committee have questions? No?
No.
All right, so we open up for a hearing of citizens, right? Anyone want to come forward and ask questions? You're more than welcome to.
I think,
Hi, Tracy Ness, 31 Jeffrey Court in Chatham Township.
Leave it up in case we need to go to any of the slides.
Can we go to the expenditures for Colony Pool, building improvements? That slide. A couple of us had come before the committee in the introduction of the budget and asked for that user-friendly budget where it's explained exactly what tax dollars are being spent on. Can you go through this and say what the road improvements are, the equipment is, the building improvements, the equipment and the improvements to Colony Pool are, and what
Well,
the
I
associated
could,
costs?
but this really isn't the time for it. The capital budget doesn't appropriate any funds. This is just a spending plan. This is a broad description of what we're going to do. The actual capital improvements will be in a bond ordinance that will be introduced at the next meeting. So in general, the township engineer has a list of the road improvements that will be the specific ones that we do. That will be reviewed. I think, John, you did review it at the last meeting, did you not, as to which streets we're planning on doing this year?
Yeah, briefly went.
Yeah. So when we do the bond ordinance, the detail will be provided at that time. Right now, this is the budget, and the capital budget doesn't approve any money, not one penny.
So you approve the budget, then you do the bond ordinance, and then you approve the final budget?
No. The bond ordinance and the budget are two totally separate and distinct documents. The only relationship is that the budget has a capital budget portion that lays out a 6-year spending plan, but it does not appropriate any money. You understand what I mean?
Yes, but it's difficult to understand what you're actually asking for in approving a budget that will then allow for a bonding ordinance if we don't know what they are. So you can't really comment on improvements or repairs or what's on the table.
Well, no, you can, because the bond ordinance will be done just like any other ordinance. It'll be introduced and there's a public hearing, and anybody who has questions or comments or suggestions will be free to offer them.
So then do you have the ability...
I can tell you what the plan is, that the purchase of DPW equipment would be $100,000, road improvements for $500,000, building improvements for $150,000, fire equipment is $50,000, and Colony Pool improvements is $35,000. So what we will be putting forward in the future when we do the bond ordinance would be the request for $835,000 to do those items that I just described to you.
And what about some of the things that some of you might have advocated for on the budget? What was left on the table? What couldn't have been accomplished? What were you interested in seeing accomplished? I'm talking specifically about the residents that came forward and handed in a petition about doing weekly recycling like other towns do. I don't know what we're doing. Is there anything money in here to repair the tennis courts? Is there anything that any of you discussed as part of the budget deliberations that was left on the table that we couldn't do? Do you deliberate the budget at all? Is there a discussion?
As it relates to weekly recycling, that is an ongoing issue that we continue to review. Thinking of doing a pilot program perhaps later this year. More to come on that.
And so how does that get figured into the budget?
It's a pilot program where we're not ready to talk about the details of it right now. They would not be part of the budget. So we know that residents have expressed an interest in this, and rather than just rolling it out entirely, we're looking at different opportunities and different options.
Okay. And what about the tennis courts?
There's no plan to do any major improvements to the tennis courts. If there's a need for repairs, those will be done.
And that's going to be in the budget, or is that in the bond ordinance?
Right now, it's not in either place as far as specifics go.
Because I know for the past 2 years, the liaison for the boosters for the tennis program has reached out. And in speaking with him the other night, he thought there might be an issue of liability at this point.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay. Well, in talking about the budget, and I'm sure in your deliberations, I'm sure you probably go out and look at the facilities or make some sort of determination. But for the past 2 years, the tennis liaison for the boosters program has expressed some concern about a crack that runs across all 6 tennis courts. And at this point, he felt that it might present a liability. So
if we were to close down the tennis courts, what would the high school do?
They have to go play somewhere else. If we're not able to maintain our courts or pay attention to the cracks in it, then they may not be able to use it. So I know it's been a 2-year request.
Does the booster group right now fund repairs, or what is the booster involvement with the courts?
The boosters raises funds. We currently pay $45,000 in coaches' fees. We don't repair municipal facilities. We don't repair fields. That's left up to the municipality or to the school district. We do provide sporting equipment.
Does the Athletic Foundation ever supported the courts, or no?
Pardon me? We support the tennis team. We buy them equipment.
Not the boosters. I'm talking about the Athletic Foundation has supported field use and development in the township and the borough itself. I'm wondering if they've done anything to your knowledge with the tennis courts.
I'm not involved at this point. I was previously with the Chatham Athletic Foundation. The Chatham Athletic Foundation services K-8 sports. The Chatham Athletic Boosters services the high school sports.
The Athletic Foundation only services to K-8?
That's correct.
So no high school kids play on the Shunpike at all?
Not unless not unless there's a need to. I mean, the borough has made Lum available for the high school sports to play on.
The field does get used.
Yes.
It gets used by the high school baseball team.
Yeah,
It's used for other practices as needed. This facility, this gymnasium right here is used by the high school.
Tom, if there was an issue of liability with the tennis courts, wouldn't Jif have brought that to our attention?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about liability. I will say this. I'll go back out and take another look with John Rushke. And if, again, because the capital budget is really just a planning tool, it doesn't appropriate any funds, if upon further investigation we feel that it rises to the level of needing a capital improvement, we can include it when the bond ordinance is prepared and introduced. So I appreciate you bringing it to our attention again. We'll take a look at it.
Terrific. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we'll close out the hearing. Resolution 2018-69, amending 2018 municipal budget.
Yeah. Now, again, if I may, just to provide the details, it added salary and wage money to buildings and grounds and streets and roads to cover overtime already incurred and expected to be incurred in the cleanup, and it added money to the streets and roads other expense category for us to hire outside help and ultimately dispose of the material that gets collected, because it will be ground up and disposed of. A lot of it will go to homeowners, but a lot of it is just going to be trashed because we're limited in how much we can keep on site.
Great, thank you.
And then, Tom, this comes back to us in two weeks?
Yeah,
for
the
final
process
approval?
now is that you're not going to vote on adopting the budget. You're basically, the public hearing on the budget is finished at the meeting of April 12th, which is actually 3 weeks away. You'll do a public hearing on the amendment. So the three things basically that I just described, and if you're in agreement, then you'll approve the budget as amended. And that would be the final approval.
On the township website, if you go across the title bar where it says departments, the drop-down for finance will take you to this PowerPoint.
It will, but I actually asked today that it be moved to the
Okay.
front page so that it's
Okay,
easier
great.
for people to
So
find.
you don't have to go searching for it.
Right.
Thank you.
And then this updated one will go tomorrow, and we'll, same thing, we'll ask that be put, we're going to maybe bump Kurt's video, but
The horror. And obviously, the budget has always appeared on our website as well as relates to past meeting. Tom Salvis does a wonderful job editing these meetings, so people don't have to stick around for the 3 or 4 hours. You can just watch that 20-minute clip. So that's been on the website for a while and has been, and this one will be as well. Back to you, Greg. Oh, do you have a motion to,
So moved.
is there a second?
Seconded?
Mr. Solin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. We've
And
got
as previously noted, this will come again before you at the April 12th meeting.
Thank you. Next, final adoption of ordinance 2018-08, establishing office of the tax collector. Anyone on the committee have anything you want to discuss?
No, I think Tom went into it last time. Nope.
Anyone from the public want to come forward? All right, we'll close it out. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded?
Mr. Solin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. All right, we have an introduction of ordinance 2018-09, colony pool fees. We're going to see if Tom wants to say anything about this. All right, this relates to Colony Pool and some increases in the fees this year. As we all know, Colony Pool is a gem in our community. It's one of the few facilities in the Morris County area that offers the amenities that it does. We've seen increase in, thank you, now you can see me. Increase in membership over the past couple of years, the various improvements we've seen at the club itself. So, do you have anything you want to say about the ordinance, Tom, Colony?
I do not.
Great. All right. Any questions in the committee?
No, just a reminder, Mayor, we did do a major, I won't call it improvements to it, but certainly improvements, renovation work last year on the wall behind the slide and the diving board. That was a significant work that needed to be done, and we did. So
Well, if we didn't do it, we have a bigger issue.
Not sure where we'd be today. Yeah.
All right. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Solin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes.
And the public hearing on this will be April 12th.
All right. Thank you. We now have the consent agenda. Anyone have any questions on the consent agenda? You want to read them off for us, Greg?
This evening, we have Resolution 2018-070, receipt of reports, 2018-71, approving meeting minutes, 2018-072, approving executive session minutes, 2018-073, approving list of LoSAP eligible volunteers, 2018-074, extending temporary budget, 2018-075, refunding overpayment of taxes, and 2018-076, authorizing membership in HGAC co-op program.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded?
Mr. Solin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Swartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. Do we have any discussion items today? Tom, do you want to say something?
I would just like to again encourage members of the public to go online and view the budget documents that are posted there. We have all of our financial statements and audits from the last probably 10 years available there. And between now and April 12th, if anybody has any questions or comments or suggestions, or just want to call and say hello, I encourage you to do so. I'll try to answer your questions to the best of my ability. And Tracy, just to go back to the questions about the tennis courts, Mr. Rushke and I will go inspect those again. I did consult with him briefly here, and my recollection was, and I think he bore it out, that the cracks that were reported really don't come into play. They're right along the net. It's basically the seam that runs down the center along the net, and it can be easily repaired, probably with some crack seal material or the type of material that we used over at the skate park. So that's a repair that I think we can do in-house, and we'll go verify those conditions tomorrow, and then Rich will get it on his schedule.
Thank you, Tom. John? We'll now open up for hearing of citizens. Anyone would like to come forward?
Hi, Jessica Romeo, 49 Pine Street. I just want to say thanks for doing the storm cleanup. I agree you should wait because my stuff is still frozen and buried.
Well, we're not getting your stuff.
Please, thanks, Tom. I got hit hard, really hard. Can you explain to me, so I'm trying to follow the whole budget thing. I'm not really a math person, but this 27.7 cents per $100 of assessed value,
Yep.
what does that mean to me?
That is the local tax rate. That's what pays for municipal operations. So it's not the county, it's not the school, it's just the portion of your tax bill. When you get your tax bill, you know, that's the portion that comes to us. What it's based on, to do the math, if you take your assessment, whatever it is, let's say $1 million just for the sake of making it simple. You divide by 100, multiply by that tax rate, and that'll tell you how much your local tax is.
And so it's
27 cents on 100 for each $100 of assessed value.
what was it last year?
It was 1.5 cents less than that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay?
Okay.
I just wanted to follow up. Tracy Ness, 31 Jeffrey Court. Their first match, Tom, is April 2nd for the boys tennis.
Okay.
And I also wanted to thank Mike Kelly. I know it was a difficult night that night. Residents couldn't get out. Some of us physically couldn't get out to come to the meeting. We were able to watch it on TV. Those of us who did have TV, most of the town didn't have TV. So we really weren't able to comment, listen. Some of us could watch. I would hope, Mike, that you would bring it back up again. And I hope that we're able to follow the lead in a nonpartisan manner, like the school board is preparing a resolution. The Chatham Borough has already put forth their resolution backing our students. I don't think it's a waste of time to go through the letter and see where you can find areas of agreement. I know you guys said it was not productive, as Mike tried to go through some of the things that he wrote. So I would hope that this isn't dead in the water, and I would hope that we're not the town that's left behind and not supporting our students in a nonpartisan manner. I don't think it sets the right tone when we're the only town that's not doing that. And especially when our school board, and as I said, are the other people that we share our school district with, are doing the same thing. And I would think that all of you, if you put your heads together, could come up with something that you could agree with, and that could support the more than 400 students that came out at Chatham High School, the additional, I don't know how many people were at the middle school, but I think it strikes the right tone. If you all can work together, certainly the administration and the students work together, the borough work together, and now the school district is working together. So I hope that you all can do the same thing. Mike and I would encourage you to bring it back up I don't think it's not a waste of time.
I don't believe
And
anyone said it was a waste of time, Tracy.
It was
And I don't
not
think anyone said it
productive.
was unproductive either.
It was not a productive use of time.
I don't think anyone said that.
You can look at the tape.
Yeah, I was here.
I was watching.
Good.
So tiring. But Mike, I would encourage you, because I think that you can do it. So I would encourage you to bring it up again.
Yeah, and I would just want to say that I think this township committee has led on many fronts as it relates to the issue of public safety. We've taken the lead in increasing awareness of mental illness, increasing the awareness of suicide prevention and awareness as it relates to hosting public forums. These videos are continually one of the most popular viewed videos on our website. We've organized one of the largest Out of the Darkness walks in Morris County, if not New Jersey, these past 2 years, raising over $150,000 for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So for you to come up here, I know you're running for office, so that's your intention. So I understand, why you're doing what you're doing more frequently. That being said, I think you should also take into consideration what we've done. And let me finish, please, talking.
I'm not going to say a thing.
Okay.
Go
good.
ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
For you to come up here and say this committee has not done things, I take umbrage with that, and I don't appreciate it.
I don't appreciate you continuing to harass me, and I think you need to stop.
Okay?
I have every right as a citizen to come up here and speak.
And I didn't say you did not, Tracy. When did I say you cannot come up here and say anything?
I didn't say that.
Then how am I harassing you?
Because you just said, I know you're running, I know you're coming up here, that's why you're coming up here, that's why you're speaking out.
No.
You just said it. So please stop doing that, and stop doing
That's
it to
my
other
observation,
residents.
Tracy. I can make any observation I like.
You're an elected official.
Yes, and elected officials can make observations.
Yeah, and I'm a constituent.
Good.
So
I
I can
understand
be
that.
here as a taxpayer.
You make your observation, I can
be...
make my observation.
All right. So if you want to go back and look, you said it was not a productive use of time to go through each of the items that Mike had, who he wanted to discuss line by line, to see if there could a consensus come to, that you come to a consensus to. That's what was said. So I think it's a productive use of time. And I think that the school district is doing it, the borough is doing it. I think that we can come together and find, I'm not saying that you have to support, bump stocks or banning bump stocks or banning high-capacity clips or semi-automatic weapons. I'm not saying that you have to do that, but you can come to some language that shows the town that you support the efforts of the students. I think it's wonderful what we're doing for suicide prevention, but it doesn't address the mass shootings that are happening. It doesn't address what students are facing with putting books over their heads and having active shooting drills in their schools. So this is an entirely different issue. I applaud you for the efforts that you're doing, but I think that we can take it one step further and join with other towns, join with people within our own town, with the school district, and with Chatham Borough. And I think that you guys can come to something like that, and I would encourage Mike to bring it up again.
And I will respectfully disagree. Thank you.
Chief's going to love me for getting up and talking again. Hi, Jessica Romeo, 49 Pine Street. I feel like I have to say something because the meeting before the last, I brought this up and I asked you to write a joint letter requesting that Congress address the issue of gun violence. And after the storm and I went back to work, I still didn't have power at home, but at work I watched the video and I was really upset with how it played out, and I was really upset I wasn't here the night that Mike read his letter because I felt like I wanted to be here to support him. I couldn't, I was home with my family in the storm. But watching you guys discuss it was really disheartening to me, and I was really upset watching how there was no productive dialogue, and it was shot dead in the water. Typhon, you discussed, and you talked about your own child and everything, and I emailed you. I did appreciate you engaging in the conversation. The way you're acting right now is really upsetting to me. I'm a parent. You're all parents. We have children in schools. There was a school shooting again this week. It's something you should be able to talk about, and it's not a partisan issue. It's not us-them issue. It's just, we're all humans. We're all trying to live on this earth. We send our children to these schools. Our children shouldn't be putting their lives at risk going to school, yet they are. Let's talk about it. Let's address it. Let's show some support for our kids and saying, hey, we're there for you. We've got your backs. We're going to work on this. And I feel like you guys represent us. A joint letter from you is stronger than just a letter from Mike or just a letter from me, a person who lives in this town. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to come forward? We'll close out the hearing of citizens. Moving on now to executive session. Greg, want to read that first, please?
Resolution 2018-P-04, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded. Whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. 1, the public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15, and litigation Fair Share Housing Center versus Township of Chatham, docket number MRS-L-000234-18. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event when appropriate pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13, the committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
A motion to approve?
Mayor, did we want to also talk about salaries tonight in closed session, or was that not?
I don't believe so.
No? Okay.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
I did.
Who made the second?
Second? Oh.
Mr. Selin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yep.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yep.